Alright folks, today is the second day learning Active Target. What I'm going to do today that's different than yesterday is I'm going to change the orientation from that forward or down facing two surfaces scanning out there to a sideways. I think it's called perspective mode, and it's pretty easy to switch the orientation of the transducer. I just loosened this knob here and turned it 90 degrees, and I can tighten that down. Again, great transducer mount design that allows you to pan side to side or across like this. It's available at the Dugout Bait and Tackle in Marietta, Georgia. It's called the Fisher. So I'm gonna put that in there. I'm gonna find some areas that I think are probably in that 6 to 10 foot range that have that emerging grass, and just scan and look for fish that are in those sort of transitionary areas, and see if I can throw a jig out in front and really target, hey, I'm seeing fish movement. Is it there, or there? Hopefully I can get that wired in my head in terms of what I'm looking at, and I'll show you real quick. I'll take this mount off. And we're not seeing anything here just because it's pointed out, and actually maybe it is seeing a few things. So I'm panning like this in shallow water, and I don't know what it's seeing. Is there anything out there that's moving? But you'll notice that that these white lines changed. It was in the upper left hand corner showing, hey, I'm scanning this way, scanning down and out, and now it's changed to where it's this this wider pie wedge that's everything out to the side. It's not 180, but it's closer to that. Yeah, let's get it in the water, go find some grass, see if we can see some moving fish in that grass. So I caught them yesterday on a couple different things. One was my finesse jig with the bat wings as a trailer. I always do well with that. And the other is a palmetto bugs, and this one's actually a little bit beat up. It's missing some appendages, so I'm gonna switch over and get a fresh one. But I like these rigging bullets. It's a smaller hook. Don't let that dissuade you from throwing it with a bigger bait like that, because it is Elastec. It's going to get out of the way. It is not choking the hook gap with a lot of plastic. If it was regular plastic, it would be choking it, and you wouldn't get a hook set. Wouldn't get a good hook set. But because it's Elastec, it's going to get out of the way. And it's actually a low snag rate setup, but a high hookup percentage. So it's kind of the best of both worlds here. And I leave that hook open, and even as it comes through branches and stuff, because this is a wider bodied bait, it doesn't expose that hook point to the brush so much. But as it rolls over it sideways, it does, it rolls over, it gets through brush. But when you set the hook, inside their mouth, that comes right out, and you got a very good hookup percentage. Just thought I'd show you some of the baits I've been throwing, although that's not really what this video is completely about. Is really just learning the Active Target. I do want to get some scent on there though. Gotta find my Liquid Mayhem. I think it's in the back. All right, and then we'll take a look at the unit. I'm actually out in water that's too deep for this to make any sense. Let's go find some grass in maybe 6 to 8 feet. That's a beautiful shot of a tree, and I'm moving at a very slow rate of speed. I got like what, 3 watts going on the Torpedo, and I'm just sort of scanning as I go. It feels like I'm seeing more than I did. I'm seeing more in perspective mode, and I know there's not a whole lot here. Are those fish? I don't know. If they are, they're not moving real fast. Let me stop moving. It's hard for me to tell. I definitely saw some big fish in groups of smaller ones earlier before I started recording. You always see the coolest stuff before you hit record, and then you pull it out and it's gone. That's one of the big things that is a bit of a hurdle to overcome, is that at least mentally, with regular, even side imaging, it's static. You get to look at it. It's a record, and it stays the way it is. And my brain is used to processing things in that manner. Now that it's constantly changing, that is a fish. Oh, it's tough to keep track of. I'm gonna move forward. I think it was a carp. It was, yeah. Look at that. He's cruising right there. He just turned. He's kind of disappeared. But he's on the edge of this grass. So this is grass. That fish, is that him? Again, I don't know. He could be turning to look at me. But just the mental part of it, there's one that's moving, of things are constantly changing, and you want to keep things static, at least I do, just to have fewer variables to process mentally. There he is again. I may not be locked onto him 100%, and then he disappears into that grass, but you know he's out there, and generally this is the direction that he was in. So if you're casting out here, it's a good thing. So I don't know, it's I'm just gonna see if I can find groups of active fish to that are moving around, to like stop, and if I really feel like, hey, this is a good spot where I'm seeing a bunch of big marks, I'm gonna drop the anchor to get stopped. Because unlike regular sonar or side imaging, where you have to constantly be moving to get a good image, at least my comprehension of what I'm looking at is better when I'm stopped. So right now, moving 1.5 miles an hour. If there's a fish moving in there, maybe that's one, but maybe it's just me moving. It's hard to comprehend. It's hard for, and maybe it's a skill that I will develop as I use this more. But I'm gonna find a spot that has a bunch of them moving around, and anchor up, see what I can figure out. So that's a smaller fish. You can see him moving sort of in my direction. There's some bigger ones that cruise through. That might have been one on this log. There's a smaller one coming in. There's one. So it's an active area. You can see that guy moving. That's 2 of them together. Huh. That may be 2 fish pairing up. I'm out in 10 feet of water. Smaller fish. Could it be possible they're making a bed on that log in 10 feet of water? You know, I guess if people there, look at that. That's a big fish. So they're, whatever fish they are, and I think they're bass, they're oriented on this log. I'm going to rotate this just a hair to, I'm actually running into the, I got to get that deeper. I got to make an adjustment to this somehow, because it's running into the inflatable. One of the adjustments I got to do, but I think it's important once you find a spot where you're like, yeah, I like what I'm looking at out here because I'm seeing some bigger marks. I have both the front anchor and the rear anchor down, and that's allows me to get a better visual on what's happening down there. I'll show you more in a little bit. I'll probably move on from this spot and see if we can find another one. But that was cool seeing those fish moving around. They're passing each other. Yeah, those are paired up fish, I think. Huh. And it's funny, they're dancing with each other. There's two more. But I don't see them. There's another. I don't see them really, continually parked on one spot. But I think they're probably sizing up this log as a good spawning spot. Even in 10 feet. Interesting. So I've been on this particular spot for easily half an hour, and I've fan cast, and I've actually got to see my lure come back when I've cast through it to get an idea where in this pie wedge that I'm scanning with Active Target was my cast. It's one trick I've figured out in doing this. But I'm recognizing something that everyone that's learned this technology has told me, is that you'll go down with the ship on a spot because you see them and you found them and they're right there, and you just spend all day locked onto those fish. I think Active Target will help you find the fish, but it doesn't mean that the ones you see are going to eat. I have a hard time with that, but I'm recognizing, hey, I've been here half an hour and I really only throw one lure, and maybe I could throw different lures on there and get them to eat. But I think that I need to get it into my head that this is a tool for finding fish. It doesn't necessarily mean that the ones you found are going to eat. And maybe that's something I'll learn in the body language of how they move, of what looks like an active fish. I certainly know what the body language of a school of bait fish that's being attacked looks like. If you have a school of shad or whatever other bait fish, if they're tight in a ball, they're being attacked, and usually you can look underneath them and see that dark mark and know, hey, that is a good place to throw your A-rig, your scrounger head, or dead stick fluke through that school of bait fish. I'm hoping that the more I use this technology, and man, it's hard to not just keep looking at these fish. They just kind of wandered off into the grass there, but he's right there. There's 5 or 6 different sets of fish that keep moving through here. I gotta pull off of it, find a different spot. It could be that this is just like a staging area where they're in deeper water. God, look at the mark. Look at that guy. I gotta leave the spot because I fished it half an hour and it hasn't happened, even though there's a lot of fish. It's a great tool for finding fish. Doesn't mean they're gonna eat. So I'm gonna go to a different spot, which may be, less of a staging area and more of a, hey, I'm gonna go over here and eat area. We'll see. I'll keep moving. But I'm learning so much. Every minute out here I'm learning. It's cool. I just learned something else, that this log I thought I was seeing is not the log. It's the signal hitting the side of my boat, I think, because it's always there. Look, I'm turning and it's there. I'm turning the other way and it's there. Okay. Wasn't a log, it's my boat. And I'm curious to know, I may decide that my moving along scanning may be the regular down or push scanning out as opposed to the perspective mode. I don't know. Maybe the perspective mode is better once you've locked onto a spot. Don't know. gonna try both. I used it a lot yesterday. Perspective is, you know, it's all new today. All right, I'm actually taking it out and I'm switching over to, I think I'm gonna switch to side image and just scan, just side scan it and look, maybe find a channel out here, because I looked for a while and I actually got shallower and it's too weedy. It's too much vegetation for me to make sense of in this. It's too thick. I'm not seeing it, and maybe I need to go back to where it's a little bit more sparse. But you know, side image is gonna hopefully make something jump out at me and say, yeah, there's a brush pile, there's a roadbed, there's something to really orient myself to something out here other than just scanning. Because I think when it gets really thick with the vegetation, it's harder to pick them out. I think it can be done, but I think that finding the right structure as a starting point with the side scan is maybe the better way to approach it. We'll see. You know, you find areas that you just see a lot of fish moving around, and just go in there, have faith. It's easy to have faith when you can look and see them, you know, right there on your screen moving around. I think that's the biggest advantage. Is it, you know, whether you're, I think it's easy to have faith if you're fishing a bank and you say, yep, I can see a target that looks like where a fish would be. Whereas when you're offshore or fishing deep water, you don't necessarily have that faith. This gives you faith. Hey, at least I know I'm putting it where there are fish. That gets you partway there. You still have to fish and catch them. You still have to do your part. But given that boost in confidence, I see them, they are there. The rest is up to you.